Hello and welcome to In Parliament. Parliament has accepted the proposals by the committee which reviewed political pay. 29 MPs and the Prime Minister took part in the three-day debate. Wrapping up the debate, Deputy Prime Minister Teo Chee Hean said there's been real progress on the issue of ministerial salaries. He's heartened by the tone and substance of the debates.
While the earlier debates were marked by sharp divisions and strident rhetoric, what struck me this time was the degree of convergence and agreement that we have arrived at. We all agree on the objective of the debate, on what we are trying to achieve. Members all agree on the need for Singapore to continue bringing in capable and committed people into political office.
Mr. Teo highlighted the unanimous support on three key principles that will guide political pay. That the pay should be competitive, reflect the ethos of political service and have a clean wage. Mr. Teo said he's most heartened with the position taken by the Workers' Party. He noted that for the first time, the opposition party has stated that it accepted benchmarking salaries competitively, which is similar to the approach taken by the committee. Mr. Teo described this as a significant change and step forward.
The Workers' Party made ministerial salaries a hot campaign issue last year during the GE and proposed as an alternative, and I quote, that these countries pay political office holders just a fraction of what our leaders are paid, and we should benchmark against those countries. The Workers' Party has clearly made a fundamental change and taken a new position, which I hope they will hold to in the next GE.
Mr. Teo urged members to set aside differences and focus on the many areas of agreement. They should avoid taking the path of accentuating differences or exploiting an emotive issue to the detriment of Singapore. But the Workers' Party still disagreed on certain aspects.
Under the committee's application of the principles, we have produced a new formula that is really quite distinct from what the Workers' Party has proposed. For example, if maximum bonuses were received under the committee's proposal, ministerial salary would in fact be reduced by 8%. As opposed to 31%.
There's not a great deal of difference between what the Workers' Party has proposed, what the committee has proposed, and what the government accepts. Mr. Chen is bargaining over small differences here and there. I would have hoped that Mr. Chen would have taken a more elevated view.
The debate also saw lively exchange. One issue which stood out was over the thoroughness of the Workers' Party's approach in basing its proposal for political pay. Questions were raised over whether the party's non-constituency MP, Gerald Giam, understood the implications of pegging an MP's allowance to a senior civil servant on the MX9 superscale grade. Mr. Teo said its proposal is far from the claim that its formula is more closely pegged to the general wage level of Singaporeans.
I'm a bit perturbed by what Mr. Giam has just revealed. First of all, he revealed that he really didn't know what the MX9 superscale grade was, but then he's based his entire system and proposition on this.
The reason why we came up with the MX9 level was because we felt that that was the general amount that would be more representative of the majority of Singaporeans, and obviously it's not the median wage level.
This conversation is very, very telling. You have based, the Honourable Member has based the entire system on an MX9, which we made a big song and dance about, without understanding what it is, making assumptions.
Earlier, during debate on the recommendations of the review committee, opposition MP Pritam Singh rebutted suggestions that the Workers' Party's salary proposals are similar to those of the review committee. He said the difference lies in the principle, and pegging political salaries to those of the civil service will mean that the average Singaporean can have political aspirations.
When you remove the connection to elitism, you take the emotive element out of the debate. In retaining the unmistakable connection to the top 1,000 and to the administrative service, respectfully, the committee has missed an opportunity to fundamentally address the emotive reaction of Singaporeans to political salaries.
Mr. Singh said a bonus of 13.5 months for a minister is not a clean salary, unlike his party's idea of a bonus of 5 months. But MP for Choa Chu Kang GRC Alvin Yeo asked if he was aware that the weightage of the bonus is greater as one gets more senior. He cited the typical CEO as an example, saying more than half of his remuneration is from the bonus.
The idea of having a heavier weightage on bonus is to make it clear that the minister will not get that pay unless his performance is in keeping with KPIs, which include national outcomes which improve the lot of Singaporeans. And my request for clarification is, does not Mr. Pritam Singh accept that that is consistent with the principle of having a minister being made accountable for his performance?
MP Indrani Raja says the key to public acceptance of high ministerial salaries is performance, coupled with a real connection and bond with the people they serve.
The answer does not lie in pegging minister salaries so low so that everyone has to struggle alike. No, the answer lies in this, that the ministers, with the abilities that you have, with the skills that you have acquired, that you place these skills and abilities at the service of Singaporeans and help solve the issues for them. People do not object to good pay when it is well earned. And if they feel that a minister is really working hard for people, then they're fine with that. Where they get upset is if they feel someone gets a good pay just because he or she happened to land the job of a minister and they don't see a real or visible effort on the part of that person.
MP for Tampines GRC Baey Yam Keng says ministerial salaries should stay at the new levels until the next review, and it should be done after the next general election so that candidates won't know what salaries to expect when contesting. Mr. Baey said even though the benchmarks are based on the salaries of the top 1,000 Singaporean earners, there's usually a lag of 1 to 2 years for data from the Inland Revenue Authority of Singapore.
The situation may happen when top Singaporean earners enjoy healthy income increments in a buoyant economy, but when these salaries are used as a benchmark 2 years later, Singapore has gone into a recession. It then becomes politically not tenable to increase political salaries when people are being retrenched. We have seen it happen several times where increments based on the previous formulas were deferred or forgone.
In other developments out of Parliament, changes to the Economic Expansion Incentives Act. These will make it easier for companies to engage in high value-added activities. The minimum tax relief period of 5 years for the Pioneer Service Incentive Scheme has been removed. Economic agencies will have more flexibility in deciding on who to award incentives to better meet the needs of companies. The Development and Expansion Incentive Scheme will also be enhanced.
The proposed changes to the Economic Expansion Incentives Act seeks to stimulate more economic activities in Singapore. These changes also reflect the government's commitment to monitor the effectiveness of our tax incentive regime and to keep it relevant as economic conditions change.
Electronic road pricing or ERP gantries collected a total of $159 million for the financial year 2010. In the 2009 financial year, the amount was $149 million. And for the period up till end October 2011, it stood at $97 million. Transport Minister Lui Tak Yew stressed that the gantries are tools to manage congestion and not meant to generate revenue. The gantry at Nickel Highway collected the highest amount. Based on the weekday average in a typical month, it collected $32,000. The gantry with the lowest amount is at Upper Boon Keng Road at $130.
What will happen to gantries, like you mentioned, Upper Boon Keng, that collect so little? Would there be a plan to scrap gantries like this?
The reason why we need some of these cordons, for example, like Upper Boon Keng, it is part of the outer cordon through which vehicles have to pass in order to get to the city. And we need to also control the movement of vehicles in this direction. And we have to make sure that we basically have a cordon that is sufficiently effective.
The government is still not satisfied with the overall hygiene levels of food establishments and will continue to work to raise standards. Senior Minister of State Grace Fu said this after non-constituency MP Yee Zhen-jong asked for an update on the points demerit system for food operators. 179 operators have been given demerit points as well as fines for not meeting hygiene standards. Ms. Fu stressed that operators, cleaners and patrons must be part of the effort.
I think my ministry has worked very hard to improve on that level, but we are not satisfied. And I think we'd like to see a bigger improvement in the level of public hygiene. This is an area that my ministry will work very, very hard on for the coming years.
Stiffer penalties for employers who flout safety regulations when they transport their workers by lorry appear to be working. Fewer employers have been caught for failing to comply with the higher fines imposed from February last year. During the 8 months before and after the stiffer penalties kicked in, the number of violations fell by 49%. There were also fewer fatalities and injuries. Minister of State for Transport Josephine Teo shared these statistics in response to a question from Choa Chu Kang GRC MP Alex Yam on the impact of the tighter regulations. Another concern is the use of public transport.
I understand from the Act that it allows for business owners and hirers to transport their workers from lodging to place of work and in between place of work. However, for some estates, there have been instances where workers are transported from their lodgings to public transport hubs for workers to commute further.
A lot of residents has given such feedback, and I really want to urge the ministry to look into this. Whether are the contractors allowed to let their workers who take the public transport, where our public transport is already so packed?
The very nature of public transport must mean that the public can use it. But I understand your concern and would be very willing to work with various advisors to take a look at this problem and where necessary, work with the employers to reduce such incidents. We do not encourage the employers to overextend the use of the public transport for their workers travelling between workplaces.
The Education Ministry is looking at different models and new ways to promote integration in schools. Minister of State Lawrence Wong said this after MP Denise Phua raised concerns over separating students with different academic abilities. She cited the move to set up 2 specialized schools for normal technical or NT students next year as one example.
If it's healthy for students to be physically separated in different schools from young age, in SAP schools, special schools, now specialized normal schools. And wouldn't it be healthier if, even if they cannot study in the same academic class, that they could, in the non-academic periods or time, eat, have recess together, play and interact from a younger age?
Mr. Wong replied that his ministry will work with the community to help students in specific institutions integrate better with their peers from different backgrounds. But he pointed out that students who need special attention may fare better at specialized schools.
A customized curriculum can be developed to reach out to this group. So it's a balance. This cannot be done. You cannot take that approach and take it to an extreme. Then certainly every school will be separate, will be specialized, and then you would really have very separate and distinct groups of people rather than integration as we would like it to be. But we do it in a very controlled and deliberate environment, and we are monitoring the results of what we are doing. For example, in the new specialized schools for the NT students, and we, at least the initial evidence shows that they are doing quite well. Academically, they are coping better in this new environment. And so, as we monitor, we will feel our way forward in terms of evolving new models.
Parliament has adjourned to a date to be fixed. Good night.